Besides the stellar work of the three principals, there are terrific performances throughout Three Strangers. Joan Loring, Robert Shane, and Alan Napier are all vivid in their roles. But a special shout out to Rosalind Ivan in the role of Lady Rhea Belladon. This is how you make the most of a supporting role, something at which Ivan was a master. I could have watched her and Sidney Greenstreet playing off each other for the entire movie. Ivan appeared in several other notable noirs, but she wasn't always this amusing. In the fabulous 1944 film The Suspect, she was such a shrew to husband Charles Laughton, the audience cheers his bumping her off. She essentially repeated the role the following year, opposite Edward G. Robinson in Scarlet Street. And she'd reunite with Greenstreet, Peter Lorre, Joan Loring, and several other members of the Three Strangers cast for another London-based noir released the same year at the same studio, The Verdict, in which Sidney Greenstreet gives a performance that may top the one in this film. Now, as for Geraldine Fitzgerald, I have to assume D.P. Arthur Edison was utterly beguiled by her. I don't think she ever looked more beautiful on screen than she does in this film. Of course, that would make Edison one more on a long list of men entranced by the Irish-born actress. And if you think Crystal Shackelford had some secrets, well, so did the woman who portrayed her. Fitzgerald had first come to America in the late 30s to work with Orson Welles' theater company. He'd been impressed with her stage work in Dublin. Now, although she was married to an English gentleman named Edward Lindsay Hogg, Fitzgerald had an affair with Welles, one that produced a son, something Fitzgerald kept secret her entire life. The young man, Michael Lindsay Hogg, began to have suspicions about his parentage, especially as Welles continued to reappear in his life at opportune times, and people began commenting on their uncanny resemblance. The truth came out many years later, after Fitzgerald's death, when her close friend Gloria Vanderbilt gave Michael a cache of correspondence she'd been safeguarding, love letters between Welles and Fitzgerald that eliminated any doubt in Michael's mind as to his father's true identity. Sir Michael Lindsay Hogg would go on to be a pioneer in music videos, working with the Beatles and Rolling Stones and enjoying his own successful career as a film director. And although his mother never became as big a star as she should have, she turned down lots of roles in her prime. Fitzgerald had a long and fulfilling career, which included such notable films as The Pawnbroker, Rachel, and Harry and Tonto. She even played opposite Rodney Dangerfield in the 1983 comedy Easy Money, which is a long way from the Oscar nomination she earned opposite Laurence Olivier and Merle Oberon in 1939's Wuthering Heights. I'll wind it up today with a few comments about another of this film's female stars, Kuan Yin, Chinese goddess of fate and destiny. After I presented Three Strangers back in 2015 as part of the TCM Summer of Darkness, I was contacted by a fellow named Steve Weston, who has an intriguing obsession. He tracks appearances of Kuan Yin in Hollywood movies, and has so far cataloged more than 450 sightings in films from virtually every studio. Steve wondered if there might be a hidden meaning in it all. After all, it's believed the use of Diego Rivera's 1935 painting, The Flower Carrier, which adorns the walls of many a noir household, was a symbolic sign of allegiance among opponents of the House Committee on Un-American Activities. Mr. Weston thinks there may be a similar significance to the prominent placement of Kuan Yin in so many movies across all genres. For my part, I suggested a more practical explanation, a savvy and aggressive prop salesman who pitched the same mold to various studio art departments. Kuan Yin was so good as a symbol of Asian exotica, typically in the fashionable homes of affluent artists and intellectuals, she never got buried too deeply in studio storerooms. When a prop master called for a piece of decor to indicate a character's worldly tastes, Kuan Yin was always right at hand. But 450 distinct appearances? That's more than Bess Flowers and Whit Bissell put together. Well, don't forget to chime in on the Noir Alley Facebook page and Twitter feed, and then come back and join me next week for an encore presentation with a fresh intro and outro of one of the best movies we've shown on Noir Alley, The Breaking Point, starring John Garfield, Patricia Neal, and Phyllis Thaxter. It is a stone-cold masterpiece. Till then, see you in the shadows.